The rain had been falling nonstop for 2 days when forensic investigator Lena Morris arrived at the abandoned Blackthorn Asylum, a building long stripped of its furniture, electricity, and humanity, yet still painfully full of echoes from the past. The police had called her because a set of sealed boxes had been discovered walled behind a false panel in the basement, boxes filled with strange items, old tape recorders, ritualistic symbols, case files labeled Possession, Confidential, and most unsettling of all, dozens of photographs of patients with eyes blackened out by ink. Lena wasn't a believer in demons or supernatural cases. She was a logical mind, trained to look at facts. But the moment she touched the first file, a cold jolt shot through her fingertips like static electricity, sharp and wrong, as if the pages themselves were alive. The files belonged to Dr. Elijah Cross, a psychiatrist who vanished in 1987 along with 6 patients. Nothing of him was ever found, not even a bone. And now these files, lost for nearly 40 years, had resurfaced, begging to be opened. Lena took the box home because she didn't trust the police to handle something so delicate. In her small apartment, lit only by her desk lamp and the storm outside, she opened the first of what would soon become the most terrifying experience of her life. The first file documented patient 001, Mara Venn, a woman admitted for delusions, speaking in unknown languages, violent behavior, and claiming she was not alone inside. It wasn't unusual, but the photos chilled her. Mara's eyes looked wrong, too wide, too aware, as if she saw more than the room she was in. Lena brushed it off, diagnosing it as extreme psychosis. But when she played the tape recorder labeled Mara Session 5, she heard Dr. Cross's calm voice asking, "Who am I speaking with?" and a guttural voice responding, "She is mine. You shouldn't have opened the door." Lena froze. The voice didn't sound human, nor edited. The pitch bent unnaturally, growling, but also whispering. And worst of all, it said something new. "Another has opened the files now." Lena snapped the recorder off and pushed away from the desk, heart thundering. It was just a coincidence, she told herself. Old tapes could distort. Voices could mix. But even as she rationalized, she felt a heavy pressure settle around her apartment, like someone unseen was leaning in close. Curiosity won over fear. The next file was patient 002, Nathaniel Ford, a teenage boy who sketched symbols across every surface available, walls, bedsheets, even his own skin. The symbols matched the ones on the box itself, patterns that spiraled inward like traps. Dr. Cross had written that Nathaniel believed a shadow man followed him everywhere. Lena listened to Nathaniel's session tape. At first, it was quiet. Then Nathaniel screamed, a sound so raw and animalistic that Lena's blood ran cold. Dr. Cross shouted, "What do you see?" And the boy's shaking voice answered, "He's behind you." The tape cut off. At that exact moment, the lamp in Lena's apartment flickered violently. The storm outside cracked with a thunderous roar. She stood up, breathing fast. The air was heavy, wrong, cold. Her reflection in the darkened window looked slightly distorted, like she was standing a little further back than she truly was. She turned away instantly. Determined to stop freaking herself out, Lena forced herself to open the next file. Patient 003, Dr. Elijah Cross, self-documentation. Her eyes widened. A psychiatrist documenting himself? The first page read, "If I do not survive this, let whoever finds these files understand the truth. The possessions were real. The entity is real. And it is growing stronger." Lena exhaled shakily. She didn't like this. Not at all. She reached for the tape marked Cross, final entry. Static filled the room. Then Dr. Cross's heavy breathing. "It wants me now," he whispered. "It feeds on attention, on fear. Every time someone listens to its voice, reads its name, opens its files, it grows. If you have found these boxes, God help you." Lena slammed the stop button. Her heart was pounding as if she'd run miles. That's when something soft brushed the back of her neck. She gasped and spun around. Her apartment was empty, completely still. The only sound was the rain. But she knew she'd felt something. She quickly packed everything back into the box and shoved it into her closet. Maybe she needed sleep. Maybe stress was making her hallucinate. But sleep didn't come easy. At 3:12 a.m., her bedroom door creaked open slowly. She sat up, pulse hammering. A dark silhouette stood in the doorway, too tall, its head almost brushing the frame. She jumped for the lamp, but the moment light filled the room, the doorway was empty. No footprints. No drafts. No sign the door had moved at all. She didn't sleep after that. The next day at work, she found herself distracted as she examined forensic evidence from a burglary case. Her coworker Jamal noticed. "You look like hell," he said with concern. Lena forced a laugh, trying to shake the chills that had settled deep in her bones. She didn't tell him about the files. Not yet. But she noticed something odd. Her hands were trembling uncontrollably, like she'd been out in the snow for hours. And her eyes felt dry, strained, as if something was pressing behind them. She went home early. When she stepped inside her apartment, every single light was on, even the ones she hadn't used in months. The closet door was slightly open, and the box of files was sitting in the middle of her living room floor. She hadn't touched it. Her heartbeat became a drum in her ears. She approached the box slowly, half hoping it wasn't real. But as she touched it, the air became freezing. A whisper seemed to circle her head, faint but unmistakable. "Keep going." Her breath hitched. The whisper continued. "Finish the files." And something inside her, fear or something darker, pushed her to obey. She opened another file. Patient 004, Amelia Hart. The notes described severe contortions, speaking languages she had no history of learning, and violent reactions to religious objects. But the tape session was worse. On it, Amelia's voice layered over another voice, deep, unnatural, repeating the same phrase, "Open the last file." Lena yanked her hands back. "No," she whispered aloud. "No more." But her lamp flickered again, violently. The whisper returned, louder. "Open it." She backed into a wall, shaking her head. "Stop. Stop, please." The whisper shifted into a deep growl. "You already let me in." The lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the room. A breath, hot and cold at once, brushed her ear. "Finish the files." She screamed and stumbled toward the kitchen, grabbing the only weapon she had, a metal pan. Her hand shook so badly that she almost dropped it. When the lights flickered back on, nothing was there. Her apartment was normal again. But she wasn't. Her reflection in the window was smiling. She wasn't. Lena fell to the floor in horror. Her reflection tilted its head, watching her. Then its mouth moved silently. But she could hear its words in her mind, soft, insidious. "Last file." She snapped. She opened the final file with trembling hands. There was only one photograph inside, of Dr. Cross in a dark room. His face pale, eyes hollow. A shadow loomed behind him, featureless except for its massive height and elongated limbs. On the back of the photograph was a handwritten message. "The entity transfers through the witness." The room froze. Her breath stopped. She understood. By reading the files, by listening to the tapes, she had become the newest host. The whisper inside her head grew louder, more confident. "Your turn." Lena screamed, clawing at her ears, trying to tear out the voice. She grabbed the box and ran outside into the storm, down the stairs, into the street, desperate for help, for anyone. But the streets were empty, soaked in rain, the world too quiet. She stumbled into the old park near her building, dropping to her knees in the mud. "Please," she begged into the night. "Someone help me." But it was too late. The voice wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was inside her. Her vision dimmed. Her limbs twisted unnaturally. Her mouth opened, but her voice was not her own. A guttural growl echoed across the park as her eyes turned pitch black. The entity had taken her fully. 3 days later, Jamal filed a missing persons report. Police searched Lena's apartment. They found nothing, no files, no tapes, no box. Only her desk lamp, still flickering, and a single photograph lying face down. When they turned it over, they saw Lena's face. Standing in the shadows behind her was the entity. Its long fingers rested on her shoulders. And written in shaky ink across the bottom were the words, "The possession files never end."